Dear finance professionals and students, welcome to podcast of FCA Deepak Rao, a practicing chartered accountant. Weekly digest for week 4 of July 2025. Indian banks face challenges in attracting large corporations back to traditional lending. Companies are increasingly favoring capital markets for funding. Bond and equity markets offer competitive rates. HDFC Bank and ICAI Bank have reported slower corporate loan growth. Reliance Industries Limited, or RIL, led by Mukesh Ambani, has announced that all its clean energy gigafactories will become operational within the next 4 to 6 quarters. These facilities will manufacture key products such as solar panels, batteries, and electrolyzers used to produce green hydrogen. The factories are being set up in Jamnagar, Gujarat, on a sprawling site near the company's massive oil refinery complex, the largest in the world. These units will bring down RIL's energy costs by at least 25% and are expected to deliver strong returns on capital. A major overhaul of India's tax law is set to move forward as a report of the Parliamentary Committee scrutinizing the new Income Tax Bill 2025 will be tabled in the Lok Sabha on Monday. The bill seeks to replace the 6-decade-old Income Tax Act 1961 with a simplified framework aimed at clarity, reducing litigation, and streamlined compliance. The Income Tax Bill 2025, according to FAQs issued by the Income Tax Department, is about half the size of the current Act, with a word count of 2.6 lakh down from 5.12 lakh in the 1961 law. The number of sections has been brought down to 536 from 819, and the number of chapters halved to 23 from 47. The Income Tax Department has released the latest version 1.4.0 of the Common Offline Utility for Forms 3CA 3CD and 3CB 3CD, essential for filing audit reports under Section 44AB of the Income Tax Act 1961. The updated utility was released on July 17, 2025 and is now available for download from the Income Tax e-filing portal. The latest version includes updated form schema files and an updated schema change document version 2.2 to reflect all changes. These updates are aimed at improving the filing process and ensuring compatibility with the latest compliance requirements. India remains one of the most compelling strategic locations within emerging markets, thanks to its economic resilience, reform momentum, and robust domestic demand, private equity firm KKR said. Despite a turbulent global environment, India's relative insulation from trade frictions, owing to its domestic consumer-driven economy and services-led exports, has kept its macroeconomic fundamentals strong. Between July 14th and July 19th, 2025, as many as 26 Indian startups from diverse sectors raised over $110 million in funding from investors. These sectors include deep tech, Internet of Things, space tech, food tech, AI, quick commerce, drone tech, B2B, fintech, healthcare, cybersecurity, and wellness. Last week, Indian startups raised over $124 million with NBFC firm Creditwise Capital raising $23.3 million alone. Naira Energy, backed by Rosneft, has denounced the EU sanctions as unjust and harmful to India's interests, reaffirming its commitment to invest Rs 70,000 crore in downstream projects. The company argues the sanctions threaten India's energy security by disrupting petroleum product supplies. A parliament panel which examined the new income tax bill on Monday suggested that the finance ministry should allow individual taxpayers to claim TDS refunds by filing IT returns after the due date without penalty, and exempt anonymous donations made to religious cum charitable trusts from taxation. These changes aim to reduce ambiguity and provide relief to taxpayers. State-owned lender Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency or IREDA plans to launch a second tranche of qualified institutional placement or QIP of equity shares worth around rupees 3,000 crore in the current financial year. The company raised rupees 2,005 crore through QIP in June this year. In the upcoming round, the government will dilute 3.76% stake after having diluted 3.24% in the first tranche. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, through its Corporate Laws and Corporate Governance Committee, has released the revised July 2025 edition of the Technical Guide on Accounting for Expenditure on Corporate Social Responsibility Activities. This third edition builds upon the earlier publications from June 2020 and January 2025 and comes at a time when CSR has transformed from being a mere compliance requirement into a strategic pillar of responsible business conduct. India is now home to more than 53% of the world's global capability centers, according to a new report by Westian Research, which maps the evolution and spread of these centers across the country. Of the estimated 3,200 GCCs globally, nearly 1,700 are located in India, solidifying the country's position as the world's leading destination for global operations, research and development, and digital transformation. Bengaluru remains the beating heart of India's GCC landscape, with 487 centers accounting for 29% of the national total. Hyderabad follows with 273 centers, or 16%, the fastest growing GCC destination in the country. The boom in Indian initial public offerings is expected to continue, with companies poised to raise over $30 billion in the next 12 months, according to Kotak Mahindra Capital Company. Around 150 firms are planning to tap the equity market. The pace of IPO filings is robust, and it reflects the deepening confidence of issuers in India's capital markets. Among firms gearing up to enter the market, Tata Capital Limited is planning to raise about $2 billion. The Indian unit of South Korea's LG Electronics Inc. is also looking to raise as much as $1.7 billion. EQT and Bain Capital are now the front runners in acquiring a 31% controlling stake in Whirlpool of India, as TPG, KKR, Havells and Reliance Industries have reportedly withdrawn from the race. Both EQT and Bain Capital are currently performing thorough due diligence with binding offers expected by August. India-UK trade deal key facts. Britain and India are poised to sign a free trade agreement, pending parliamentary and cabinet approvals after 3 years of negotiation. India will reduce tariffs on nearly 90% of UK goods, while the UK will offer duty-free access to 99% of Indian items. Credit card issuers in India experienced a decline in new card additions in June 2025. Reserve Bank of India data indicates overall industry growth turned negative for the first time since COVID-19. Credit card spending also decreased. ICICI Bank and Kotak Mahindra Bank saw significant drops in cards in use. Banks are now focusing on high-quality customers. The Goods and Services Tax Network or GSTN has issued a clarification regarding the incorrect issuance of Form GSTR 3A notices to certain composition taxpayers. Due to a technical glitch, Form GSTR 3A notices, which are meant to alert taxpayers for non-filing of Form GSTR 4, were erroneously issued to composition taxpayers whose registrations were cancelled prior to the financial year 2024-25. GSTN has assured that its technical team is currently working to resolve the issue. Meanwhile, taxpayers can safely ignore these notices as no further compliance or response is necessary from their end. US retail giant Costco will set up its first Global Capability Center or GCC in Hyderabad, India to handle technology and research functions. The center will initially employ 1,000 people and expand over time. GCCs in India have evolved beyond outsourcing, supporting global firms in key operations. India's GCC market is projected to reach $99 to $105 billion by 2030. Daikin, in collaboration with EY, has established a global capability center in Gurgaon, India, named Daikin Innovation and Services Hub. This hub aims to enhance capabilities in IT, digital services, finance, and AI, employing approximately 700 individuals. With India being a key market and production hub, this initiative signals a strategic shift towards leveraging India's talent pool for global operations. The Central Board of Direct Taxes will intensify efforts to combat tax evasion. They plan to use data analytics and artificial intelligence. This will help identify discrepancies in income reporting. The Income Tax Department has access to vast digital transaction data. They also exchange information with overseas agencies. This will enable more effective detection of evasion. The Reserve Bank of India has released the draft master directions titled Digital Banking Channels Authorization, marking a significant step towards standardizing and regulating the growing digital banking ecosystem in India. The draft master directions provide a comprehensive framework for entities offering digital banking services. The RBI has invited public and stakeholder comments on the draft until August 11, 2025. This consultative approach is aimed at ensuring that the final directions are practical, inclusive, and future-ready. The Central Board of Direct Taxes has issued a partial modification of its earlier Circular Number 3/2023, dated 28th March 2023, which outlined the consequences of a permanent account number becoming inoperative under Rule 114AAA of the Income Tax Rules 1962. To mitigate the grievances of genuine deductors and collectors, the CBDT has relaxed the application of higher tax rates in specific scenarios. India's GCC footprint is expected to keep accelerating, crossing 5,000 centers by 2030 and directly employing 4 to 5 million people. The next wave of growth will ripple through the wider economy. New centers in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities will spark real estate, logistics, and professional services booms, while foreign investment tied to GCC expansion will top up India's forex reserves and fuel infrastructure projects. Jane Street Group has been allowed to resume trading in India after the Securities and Exchange Board of India lifted its earlier restrictions. However, this relief has come with a condition. The US-based trading firm will be under close watch going forward, with stock exchanges asked to keep an eye on its market activities to prevent any possible wrongdoing. The firm deposited Rs 4,844 crore in an escrow account held with a scheduled commercial bank in India. India emerged as the third highest funded country globally for tech startups in the first half of 2025, raising $4.8 billion despite a slowdown in overall investment activity for the first half of the current calendar year. The total was 25% lower than the $6.4 billion raised in the same period a year ago and down 19% from $5.9 billion in the second half of last year. The US and the United Kingdom led global rankings, with India moving ahead of Germany and Israel from its fourth place position in H1 2024. According to industry estimates published by NASSCOM, India is projected to host 1,900 GCCs by 2030, employing nearly 3 million professionals. Cities like Hyderabad, Bengaluru, Pune and Gurugram are witnessing a sharp uptick in demand for talent in AI, cloud computing, cybersecurity and automation. In a recent note to clients, Morgan Stanley described India's GCC model as a strategic advantage in the global digital economy, noting that Indian hubs are increasingly delivering critical intellectual and product value across sectors including banking, healthcare, and manufacturing. The International Financial Services Centers Authority, or IFSCA, has officially notified the IFSCA TechFin and Ancillary Services Regulations 2025. These regulations establish a comprehensive framework to govern the operations of TechFins and ancillary service providers within the IFSC ecosystem. The FTA with the UK could significantly increase investment inflows into India, driven by multinational companies diversifying supply chains away from China. Duty-free access to the UK for key sectors like textiles and engineering goods is expected to boost job creation and capacity addition. Value retail chain Super K has raised Rs 100 crore in a funding round led by Binny Bansal's 3 State Ventures and Carrot Lane founder Mithun Sacheti, with participation from cricketer Shubman Gill and existing investors Bloom Ventures and Exceed Ventures. The company will use the Series B funding to expand organizational capacity, hiring, and expand business in 300 new towns. In a significant stride for the Indian IT and electronic sectors, the India-UK Free Trade Agreement, or FTA, provides a 3-year exemption from social security payments for Indian professionals temporarily posted in the UK. The move will benefit around 75,000 Indian workers and over 900 employers, primarily from the IT sector, which counts the UK as its second largest export market. This exemption is a major cost-saving measure for IT majors like Tata Consultancy Services and Infosys, and it eliminates a long-standing burden of dual contributions, allowing for more agile deployment of talent to on-site UK projects. The government is likely to extend the July 31st deadline for submitting applications under its Electronics Component Manufacturing Scheme, or ECMS. The Rs 22,919 crore scheme provides financial incentives for establishing manufacturing facilities for key electronic components such as resistors, capacitors, inductors, micro-electromechanical systems, sensors, and semiconductor-grade materials. Indian electronics companies are now eager to collaborate with Chinese firms. This follows the government's approval of Dixon Technologies joint venture. EPAC Durable and others are considering similar partnerships. The move signals a potential easing of restrictions on Chinese investment. This is crucial for India's electronics component manufacturing scheme. The free trade agreement between India and the UK will boost e-commerce. Consignments below £1,000 are exempt from origin documentation. Authentication and verification procedures will prevent product circumvention. Exporters can self-certify the origin of products. UK importers can also certify origin, reducing compliance costs for Indian exporters. These rules will ease business and save time and money. DAZN, the world's leading sports streaming platform, opened India's first Sports Technology Global Capabilities Center, or GCC, in Hyderabad. The new center will serve as DAZN's largest global hub and is expected to create around 3,000 jobs by the end of 2026. DAZN plans to invest Rs 500 crores over the next 3 years to expand operations in Hyderabad. The Leadership Federation is set to host the second edition of the GCC Leadership Conclave in Hyderabad on July 30th. The event will bring together over 300 senior leaders from global corporations, government bodies, and innovation hubs to define the next decade of India's Global Capability Center strategy. This high-impact conclave will explore how GCCs are evolving from cost-efficient delivery units into transformative global innovation engines. ITC plans to invest rupees 20,000 crore in India to scale up domestic manufacturing across FMCG, paper and packaging. The investment would help the cigarettes to consumer goods firm harness value accretion through new brand launches while reinforcing its footprint across the country. The company had launched over 100 new products in financial year 25, anchored on the vectors of health and nutrition, hygiene, protection and care, convenience, on the go, and indulgence. Tata Sons has taken a significant step to support the growth of Indian Hotels Company or IHCL through a new hospitality asset platform. This strategic move will allow IHCL, which operates the Taj, Vivanta, Selections and Ginger brands, to run hotels on properties directly acquired by Tata Sons, a first of its kind structure within the group's hospitality history. The platform's debut project is a 194-room Ginger hotel currently under construction near the Kolkata airport. Tata Sons recently purchased the asset, and once completed, it will be operated by IHCL under a revenue sharing lease agreement.
This podcast is sponsored by Sound of CA. We share because we care. Vande Mataram, Jai Hind.